I believe Christine Ford and Anita Hill.
I believe Christine Ford and
I believe Christine Ford.
So we both attended the Kavanaugh protest at the Hart Senate building on Thursday. Henry, I'll say that you were there first. I was sitting at my desk all comfortable, just checking Twitter, and then I saw these hilarious tweets from you. I was starting to write a monologue for the day, and then I was like, what's going on over here? What's Henry up to? And it's like, you know what, I'm gonna head over there too, because it looks kind of interesting. So you were posting all of these pictures of the protesters, the Kavanaugh protesters, just chowing down on sandwiches. It looked more like a potluck than an actual protest.
Dear Carissa. I mean,
I love Twitter.
What I'm opening right now.
Does anyone else want vegan?
White turkey, bacon, avocado,
I know.
So tell me about your report.
So I would say it was more like a potluck than a protest. And what caught my eye originally was this group of protesters who I usually see roaming the Hart Senate office building, because I'm up there all the time for work on the Hill. And I saw this group of protesters kind of merging towards Senator Grassley's office, and I was like, well, this could be interesting. So I kind of waited outside there for probably 30 minutes before dozens of sandwich platters just started rolling in to this office. Meanwhile, the protesters are sitting on the floor. They're all telling their stories to one staffer who is sitting at the front desk there. And I would say there's probably 24 maybe in the office, all seated, just chowing down on sandwiches. But it wasn't just sandwiches. Pizza started flowing in. I think I saw bags of chips. They had jugs of water for everybody. I mean, they had the whole thing set up. I was actually offered a sandwich.
So do you think they do that on purpose to kind of upset maybe the senators or the people working in the office? I mean, it is kind of rude to have like an entire picnic potluck going on in somebody's office. I mean, it seemed a little brazen. Yeah,
and I will say I walked into the office to get a scene of what was going on and see where was this food actually going. And right when I walked in, it just smelled awful. There was a disgusting scent in this office, so I felt really bad for these staffers. It was a smelly group of people eating smelly sandwiches in the floor of the small Senate building. So, I mean, it's got to be either a jab to them, or they just have way too much extra money on their hands that we don't know where it's coming from, and they just have dozens of sandwiches to hand out.
So, and then what was the title of your story?
Portly protesters shut down Grassley's office while eating dozens of sandwiches.
So did the protesters see you getting video and pictures of them? Because that's what made me laugh out loud, was all of the visual.
So they did, and they know me from previous protests, so they don't like to talk to me. But they didn't really pick up that I was filming the food aspect of it. So they didn't really know that until the post went viral on Twitter. And meanwhile, I have dozens of people now coming up to me asking me why I called them portly. so it was kind of, I just say, hey, I'm here to report the news. It's my job, straight news reporter, so.
True. So, okay, so I'll tell you, I said that I saw what you were doing over there, and I just tore up my monologue for the day, and I said, you know, I'm gonna head over there and talk to people and see what's going on. So, as we know, there's a big debate over whether Kavanaugh should be confirmed or not based on the allegations against him. And allegations and these claims, I think women should be believed and things should be taken seriously. Definitely in this case, I think it is questionable. Specifically, it seems like a political tool because of some of the evidence and things that are going around with, like, Dianne Feinstein holding on to this information since July, the timing of it. It was never brought up during the hearing. So it does seem very political. But of course, everyone deserves due process. Stories deserve to be heard. But the people that were at this event, it's like they already just assume that Kavanaugh's guilty. They don't even really want to hear the facts. They also don't want to talk about it. So I arrived with cookies. I just wanted to see if they'd keep eating. So Richie from the Daily Caller went out and bought cookies, and I just had this giant tray. And Guillaume and I, we walked in with the cookies. I set them on a bench that was there, and just people came in like vultures. They were just like ripping the plastic apart, getting into the cookies, and the cookies were delicious. I had one too. But yeah, we did set a little.
I did see you from afar, and I was like, is that Stephanie over there? And she have a platter of cookies, and they did swarm. I mean,
Yeah.
they swarmed like vultures. That plate was gone in like minutes. Really?
Like 2 minutes.
Like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was completely gone. Like not even a crumb left in sight.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know why we did that. It was just funny. But either way, so I got there, and I think that they thought maybe I was like part of the protest because I had cookies and I was like walking behind the lady with a bunch of boxes of pizza. And so yeah, they're like, oh, thanks so much. They were so excited about it, and I'm like happy to give out cookies. But I went there to talk to people. I wanted to hear, what exactly their thoughts are on Kavanaugh, and if there was other reasons why they were protesting him or they oppose his confirmation, and just in general. And no one would talk to me. They recognized me, and I saw them running around telling one or two people were running around telling people not to give me an interview. I saw them telling everyone not to talk to you either. And then they recognized Guillaume, our photographer, and so they just don't want to talk to me. And I wasn't trying to like trick them or anything. I just want to tell their story, hear what they have to say. And so, yeah, after they wouldn't talk to me, I just started going around and asking them other serious questions. So the big issue I have with this whole Kavanaugh situation is again, that he's guilty before proven innocent. And
Yeah.
I don't think that that is a way that our society should be. It's a very slippery slope. And what I've noticed is that in the era of Me Too only counts if the victim is making claims against a conservative. And it seems like some on the left want to cover or ignore some of the allegations being thrown at people on their side or people that they like. For example, Keith Ellison.
Do you think Keith Ellison should resign?
I have no comment. Thank you.
He's been accused of physical and verbal abuse. Do you think Keith Ellison should resign?
Who's the organizer of the committee?
Do you think Keith Ellison should resign? He's been accused of physical and mental abuse by his ex-girlfriend, Karen Monahan. She released her documents, her medical records this week.
I'm sorry, nothing's processing right now.
He posted this video online asking all these protesters what they thought about Keith Ellison and his accusations against him. He was, sexually assaulting people or whatever it was, sexually, whatever. He has these horrible allegations against him, and yet not one of them, I don't think, gave you a answer as to if that was wrong. Even would not even say it was wrong to sexually harass a woman. Even though the reason, obviously, because it's Keith Ellison. It's the DNC. They can't hate on their own party. So regardless, it is definitely the Me Too era movement. But the Me Too era movement is also pushed on very heavily by the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Keith Ellison, he's been accused of domestic violence by his ex-girlfriend, Karen Monahan, who was a liberal activist working for the Sierra Club. I think she's still working with the Sierra Club. And so she came out recently, and she even released medical records this week. And she is saying that her story is being ignored, and she feels like, in a sense, that she's been abandoned by her own party. And so when I asked them a very fair question, and these are the people that are running around and say women should be believed, women should be believed, but then when you ask them if Keith Ellison's girlfriend should be believed, they're just shrug their shoulders, they don't talk to you, they, cold shoulder.
I think one person laughed at you.
Yeah, a guy laughed at me. So I'm just kind of surprised by the responses. And I asked them, why hasn't there been a protest against Keith Ellison? Are you going to his office? Right. I mean, this is a high power guy. This is the co-chair of the Democratic National Committee. I mean, he is very, very powerful.
Yeah,
very. And he's a congressman.
Very powerful.
And so it's mind-boggling the lack of care by someone on the left, especially the people that were there.
One woman said to you, she said, well, Keith Ellison isn't up for Supreme Court. He's not the nominee. So that makes it irrelevant? The head of the DNC is domestically abusing a woman, and that makes that whole thing irrelevant? No. And also, there's no evidence on Kavanaugh. Let's remember that.
Yeah, we've heard the story change a couple times. Witnesses there, not there. She doesn't remember where it was or won't say where it was. Then reporters are being criticized for asking her where this, alleged incident occurred and when it happened. And really, we don't really have any answers. They want Kavanaugh to prove his innocence and also, give all this information on something that he claims didn't happen. So,
yeah, and she also wants the FBI to do an entire investigation into something which has no evidence, there's no evidence behind. There's a group of, I think, around 70 women who went to high school or knew him growing up in high school, who have signed this letter or have spoken out publicly on behalf of Kavanaugh. telling him, just speaking about how great of a guy he was at the time and how these accusations make no sense, how they could never see someone like him with his character doing such a thing. But yet you have this one person who Feinstein was, had this information, went through the whole process, had him sit down, and then she decides to pull it out of thin air, and try to put all this weight on Kavanaugh. And here we are. Monday he's supposed to sit down and we're supposed to have our Supreme Court nominee get confirmed basically this upcoming week.
Yeah.
And the Democrats obviously are trying to push that back.
And that's what I brought up was the timing. It seems extremely political. I'm willing to hear her story. I'm not saying that it didn't happen.
Absolutely.
But
I want to hear her
I
testify.
think to jump to conclusions and to smear, basically from what we know, a good man's name, I think that's very unfair and a very slippery slope. So anyways, I kept talking to people, and some of the answers and responses I got, aside from being ignored, were just really bizarre, weird rants. I spoke to one man who's wearing like a white suit and a top hat, and I asked him about Keith Ellison, and we have video of it.
You know what Trump really is? Let me tell you what Trump is. Trump is just what the dictionary say, a low-down dirty nigga. Oh, you got a white nigga in the White House. You have a white in the White House.
I mean, this was a really bizarre rant. I asked him about Keith Ellison, and he goes off on all these weird things about Trump, and I'm just amazed. I mean, these are the people who are just shouting the most, and they make no sense. And it's not like this, it was just like one person. I mean, I heard saw a lot of weird and strange
So
things
it was
going on.
funny that guy is actually an organizer, and I see him weekly in the Capitol. But it's funny, he was wearing a suit because he thought maybe that he could fool some people like into thinking that he was like a staffer or something, because that's obviously what he was trying to do. And
he was trying to fool people into thinking he's a staffer.
he was, or at least like a big shot on the Hill, because this guy's usually wearing a T-shirt and some baggy shorts and like flip flops, and you can tell he's like with the rest of the group. But I'm just saying, like this guy put on a suit specifically.
Yeah, but that's not the type of suit that you would wear at the Capitol.
No, it's not. It wasn't looking
so
too
bad.
good.
It looked like he was like going to prom or something.
No, literally, yeah. I think he got a Goodwill probably. Yeah, but no, seriously, that's my point. These guys, they think they're smart, so they put on a suit. It's like, I'm gonna organize. I'm the organizer here. And then he starts just shouting at you, and you get a little, this confrontation with you, and it's just over simple questions that I think everybody wants to hear the answers to.
Well, like the Trump N-word thing, I just thought was really bizarre. He was just throwing that around, and then the best part was another woman that was part of the group. She comes over because she sees him talking too much, and she like ushers him away.
That's what they always do. They go, daily call.
Yeah.
And then they just turn around.
And so anyways, like I said, if they are so passionate about their cause, they should talk. Maybe they can change my mind. I mean, I'm just out there to listen. I'm all ears.
As am I. And I haven't heard, I just want to talk to them. They won't talk to us.
So did you get any other stories from Thursday?
I did not.
Okay.
No, I did not. I spent my time on Thursday getting chased around the Capitol or following a group of protesters that were basically there for probably 8 hours, I would say.
Yeah.
I was in the Capitol for probably 12 hours that day, and 8 hours of them were spent with this group. That sounds fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also brought up Juanita Broaddrick.
Oh, yeah.
She claims that Bill Clinton raped her in the late 1970s. And so this week she was, I believe on Fox News, they're pretty much the only network that will even let her speak or give her a platform. She was really disturbed because Hillary Clinton is speaking out against Kavanaugh, and she finds it extremely hypocritical because there are so many claims of sexual misconduct against Bill Clinton. Also, Juanita Broaddrick made the claims that she was raped. So she was upset. She says, like, well, I don't understand why no one will listen to me. For listening to victims, why will no one believe me?
Oh, maybe because she's a Republican.
And she's referencing that, this happened, I think, 37 or 38 years ago for Juanita Broaddrick. And so this case with Kavanaugh, this allegedly happened 36 years ago.
Yep.
So she's saying that there's a lot of similarity there and still just a lack of interest in what happened to her.
Will anyone condemn Bill Clinton for Juanita Broaddrick? Her allegations. She says she was raped by Bill Clinton in the late 1970s. Does anyone believe Juanita Broaddrick? She's speaking out this week saying that there is a double standard. Hillary Clinton is condemning Kavanaugh.
And I get it that Bill Clinton is not in public office, but he has a big name, and his wife just ran for president. So I think that's all relevant. I mean, they're still having him, do the circuit with the DNC, and I mean, he's a very important political figure for the Democrats.
Yeah, but don't you think that these people who are showing up to the protest should at least acknowledge that this happened and that Juanita Broaddrick is actually a victim?
Yeah.
Shouldn't they? I mean, you were asking dozens of people that question.
Exactly.
And none of them would even acknowledge her name.
No, they were mad that I brought it up. They were just kind of shaking their head. I saw one gave you the middle finger.
Oh, yeah.
Another lady screamed at me. One lady shoved me. She was walking by me,
right,
and she just happened to bump into me.
Of
course, because you couldn't possibly walk all of the other ways around. So anyways, I mean, that was just our experience. I don't know if you have any other takeaways from what happened.
I just think that it showed the insanity on the left. Everybody there was just out of their minds. They had no idea what they were talking about. A couple people were there, clearly were there just for the food. I asked him why they were there. He starts, in the middle of his pizza, chowing down on his pizza, says he has HIV. And I said,
I remember
and
that.
I was like, what does this have to do with Professor Ford and the Kavanaugh accusations?
Yeah.
And he's just like, it's part of the bigger problem. And I was like, well, this doesn't sound normal.
No.
So, yeah.
That's just, it's kind of a weird thing to, I mean, I'm sad that he has HIV. But
no,
that's
obviously.
Just a really, that's what I'm saying is you ask him a question and they would go to totally weird off-topic answers.
Right.
And I guess, I have a couple favorite moments. So I was talking to this guy who was running, I don't know if he was an organizer or not, the guy in the suit.
Yeah.
You've seen him around before.
He is an organizer.
Yeah, I don't know his name yet, but we'll find out.
Yeah,
that's why I love the internet. So he's running around telling people not to talk to me, and I confront him like, well, why are you telling everyone not to talk to me? I'm here to do a job, and my job is to go ask questions.
I'm still not talking to you.
I know, but you're telling everyone not to talk to me.
Why are you here?
Because I'm doing a report. I'm finding out why
what's
people
your
are here.
report?
My report is that there's protesters at the Capitol, and they are protesting Kavanaugh. So I want to ask questions.
Okay.
And you're stopping me from asking questions.
You're literally just asking me like 6 questions, so I'm clearly not stopping you.
It's amazing that you're running
asking.
around telling people not to talk to me.
You're being dishonest about the outlet that you're with.
The left constantly silences free speech.
We are a very fair news organization. We're telling really important stories, and I'm here to just get answers to some of my questions. And so he just flipped out, and then he started, I guess if you want to use these words, mansplaining me, and I called him out on it, and the look on his face was so hilarious.
You're not a journalist, so
That's
I'm not going to answer your questions.
Yeah, and you're harassing me and then telling everyone not to talk to me.
How am I harassing you?
Yeah, you're mansplaining right now.
I'm walking away.
So that was my experience. Oh, okay, so the good part of this story was I didn't realize this was happening, but I went back and looked at the footage, and there's this guy, and he has like a folded pizza, like 3-fold pizza, and he's just chowing down. He kind of looks like Bernie Sanders. And so Guillaume just stopped filming us and started zooming in on this guy just chowing down this entire piece of pizza, and then he just walks off. It was extreme.
There were several. I didn't eat lunch that day. I wanted a slice of pizza. There was boxes everywhere.
I'm sure they would have given you one.
Probably not. They don't like me very much.
So anyways, well, I'm sure there will be many more protests for us to attend. I will definitely keep an eye on your social media. We'll see who gets there first.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.